to the Protect Kids Online live stream. I'm Cyber Farida. I have a background in cybersecurity awareness, threat intelligence, online gaming, and other nerdy stuff. I've taken my gaming experiences and professional background to help parents like you protect their children online. I'm known as an award-winning Forbes 30 Under 30 internet safety expert, and I've been in some places on the internet and beyond that you may recognize. So, without further ado, let's talk. 3, 2, 1.
Your kids are dating on Roblox, and we absolutely need to talk about it. If your kids are not on Roblox, they might be dating on other online games, and it's something that's actually quite normal. And I think that a lot of parents don't either realize it or feel like it's not my kid, it can't be my kid. So I just thought, you know what? What if I look at some Reddit threads, okay, and we read them together? This is the nightly Protect Kids Online chat. I have my chai, okay, my shy here, and we're going to go over what is going on in Roblox behind the scenes. If you don't know already, Roblox is not a kid's game. And I wish that more parents knew that, right? Because we have this notion because it's an online game, it's meant for kids, but it's not. Okay. So let's go into what we see when we look into Reddit. And Reddit, I think, is a great side of the internet to understand what's going on that most kids don't talk about. So let's read this Reddit thread. Okay. So this Reddit thread says Roblox boyfriend. This is in the parenting Reddit. Says my child in middle school came home from school today and said that their good friend has a boyfriend that they met on Roblox. They have never met in person, and of course, their friend thinks it's love. I don't know. Should I read the whole thing or should I break it down? But I guess I'll stay I'll stay here that I'll give my thoughts later. So far, it doesn't seem like anything untoward is happening, but I'm skeptical. My kids have never played Roblox. They do Minecraft, which by the way, I know that we have a lot of like slack for Roblox, but this stuff happens in Minecraft as well. Actually, it happens in every single online game imaginable. If your kids are online, if they're on social media, basically if there's a way and ability for them to chat with somebody else, then they're going to be online dating available there. Sometimes kids online date for sugar and iced tea and giggles, like it's not really serious, or they'll say like, oh, this is my, it's kind of like as adults when we say that's like my work husband or work wife or whatever, they might do that in the game. They're like, that's my wifey, that's my husband, no, that's my whatever, like, they're joking. And then other times they're like actually dating. And sometimes a joke becomes something that's reality. So if you're trying to protect your kids from something like this, the first order of business is to never think, oh my God, never my child. Like I was a child that my parents were like, never my child. And I thought, never me too. Like, why the hell would I do that? And then I ended up doing that as a kid. Maybe we won't talk about it now, but this happens. I've done it. My friends have done it. It's a thing. Whenever human beings gather together, there's going to be something else happening. So let's go back to the story. They do Minecraft. So her kids are their kids have never played Roblox. They play Minecraft. So I'm not sure how it works. I've read many times how predators use the chat on Roblox to find young kids to prey on. Is that true? The answer is yes, that's true. But it's not just true for Roblox, it's true for Minecraft too. If your kids are not playing on like a private server, an offline aspect of it, then you're still going to have the same problems. This is my issue with all of the media on Roblox is that we've completely lost the plot. The plot now is Roblox is the bad game and not online games where people have the ability to chat are the problem, genuinely speaking. And even when the chat is off, there's other issues, but at least that can be the first step of not having online games where we're talking about young kids and monitoring them and knowing what they're doing. Okay. So I think that that's like, that's important to say. But yes, it is true that Roblox, the predators use that to prey on kids. Is it really as rampant as the things I've read over the years have said? Yes. And even if it wasn't, right? Even if it wasn't, it does not mean that you don't have to pay attention to it because the strategies that you use to protect your kids from online groomers and predators are the same strategies you need for your kids having a happy, healthy life, regardless if they're an online game or not. If they're in online games, you have to step it up a notch. Even if your kids are on Minecraft, I don't think that you should get to this idea of like, oh, my kids are on Minecraft, so my kids are safe. That's what predators want you to think. I'm just letting you know. Okay. I've letting you know that that's what they want you to think. Okay. If so, what do we do? Well, the first thing I would say is to always remember that anybody can be involved in this. And even if your kids are not involved with it, their friends may be. Just like this parent, it's we don't know about her kid, but definitely your kid's friend. And so if it's your kid's friend, there's proximity there. And so it's really important to talk to your kids about it in a normal way. Don't start the conversation like you shouldn't be talking to people online. You don't know who that person is behind the screen. They could be anybody. Don't ever start the conversation like that. And if you're a part of my newsletter, you have access to my Protect Kids Online resource library. And inside of my library, and I can put the link in the chat, inside of my library, I have guides on how to talk to your kids about online predators, online grooming. Start the conversation with connection. So connection before correction. I know it doesn't seem like you're correcting them, but you kind of are. So you have to be mindful of that. I'm gonna take a sip of my tea because it's supposed to be a late night chat with my pajamas on. So I need something more. Anyways, so if so, what do? You talk to your kids about it in a normal way and do not make them feel ashamed or judged for anything that they might say. All right. They said we've talked to our kids about safety online, which is phenomenal, like A1 plus one. But I don't think this friend has had much direction or guidance. That makes sense. Parents are much older, also would be a contributing factor, and don't really know about much about it themselves. What I will say with this is there is a misconception that if you are not like tech savvy, you don't know how to protect your kids online, or it's harder to protect your kids online. It's a little bit more nuanced, but I do believe that you don't need to know internet safety or all aspects of Minecraft or Roblox or TikTok to protect your kids online. So that is a misconception, and I want you to get it out of your head right now. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you grew up with the internet or AOL or dial-up internet or, I don't know, like records playing or whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, floppy disks, cassette tapes. Who cares? You can protect your kids online. So don't get into that mindset. But yes, if you're much older than they, you may not know a lot about the internet. Do we talk to this friend about the dangers of the internet? If so, how? I would never start the conversation with the dangers of the internet. I just would never do it because people get defensive and maybe they know about it. Maybe just because they're much older, maybe it doesn't mean that they don't know about it, right? So I would connect over something. Maybe it's like, hey, my kid is spending so much time on Roblox. I know that they love playing Roblox together. Our kids love playing Roblox together, and I've had some chats with them about like talking to strangers online. Have you had to have those chats too? All right, connection made. You see what I'm saying? Something like that. Whatever feels natural to you, whatever feels like a connection point versus going in about the danger of the internet, that's better, right? Especially when we're talking about their child dating somebody on Roblox and they think that they're in love. Yeah, we're gonna have to completely change the way that we're having the conversation. And also talking to your kids about falling in love with somebody, talking about puberty. This is why I always recommend Kathleen Hema. I'm going to put it in the chat. She has a YouTube channel, Kathleen Hema, that goes into the modern day S talks, the birds and the bees with your kids. And it goes into puberty, it goes into feelings, it goes into intimacy, it goes into all of those things. The point there is you are the first person or that introduces your kids to things like this, and you're making it normal to have these type of conversations in your household. Otherwise, your kids are not going to want to talk to you. The fact, though, that her child, she says between teenager, 13 and 19 years old, actually told her, right? And told them that, hey, like my friend has a someone that they love is really, really important, really, really good. That means something that you're doing is right. The fact that your child feels that they can tell you that. I say this to the parents inside of my Protect Kids Alive membership all the time, that if your kids tell you anything, that means something that you're doing is right, and please don't take that conversation and then make it about the dangers of anything, because in that moment they just want your support. So if so, how? We talked about that. Is Roblox as bad as I fear it to be? Yes. So is Minecraft if you don't have the offline version, private servers. Thanks in advance, unknown territory. Yeah, those are my thoughts with this one. There was another case of a parent, it was a couple of years ago, where she said that she found, if you have any questions, feel free to put in the chat. If you're here live, hi. And if you are in the replay, hi, feel free to put in the chat. These are my weekly live streams where we're just chatting. I'm having my pajamas and we're chatting about protecting your kids online. It's very casual. It's after my workday. And I'd be happy to support you and answer any questions that you may need. Okay. So the second instance, and this is the last one for today, and we will go over, there's other ones, but we'll go over them later. So this one is Oh, wait, hold on. I'm in the wrong one. Stop sharing. Wait, which one am I sharing? Oh, okay, okay. I'm on this one. Okay. Oh, we already did this one. Okay. So we're on this one. So found messages in my daughter, 11-year old's Roblox account with what I suspect is a grown man. This is why I'm ending it on this one because this is like a trigger warning. I have had situations like this happen as a kid. And so this is literally why I'm doing the work that I'm doing right now today. And so I think this is a good one to call it a day on, right? So this is a tween, and she said, I've never really allowed my daughter to play Roblox. I voiced this to her, but I recently bought her a tablet and caught her using it in a suspicious way. This happens all the time. Depending on what type of tablet you give your kids, it depends on how much, like how how much you can control the tablet, if that makes sense. I took it away from her and found messages with another user. Upon reading the messages, we're not going to get into the whole thing of taking it away because that's a whole other thing. If you want me to get into it, let me know. Upon reading the messages, I see this user states he's 11 years old. After asking her age and telling, okay, yeah, well, we can't. Obviously, it's internet. We don't know how old this guy is. But like, let's just say that he's 11 years old for the sake of this, even though we know he's probably not. Saying he lives out of state, and the conversation is given to the point where they begin to say, "I love you." When it gets to this point and your child really believes that they're in love with someone, like they're dating somebody on Roblox, the worst thing that you can do is try to convince them that they're not. Because then you start being in enemy territory. And if you're trying to protect your kids, it depends on how old they are, right? So she's 11, so you can get into this conversation quicker than you can with a teenager. But when you're getting into this territory, you want to be super careful of how you're wording things. If you mess up, it's fine. You can always go back and be like, hey, I was really upset and I was really worried because I didn't want something to happen to you. I remember when I was your age. I know that, it seems like I wasn't 11 years old before, but I was. And I really liked this guy. And my parents didn't seem to really care. Or I was 13 years old, or I was 10 or 9. And no one thought that I actually loved this person. And I really did. Like, of course, love changes as you get older, and so I have a different idea of love, but I felt like I was really in love, and I really was, and I really liked this person, and no one understood me. You can give that story, and then you can go back and apologize for it, right? So if your kid really feels like they're in love, okay, you say that you're in love, and then go into what they're feeling and why did they feel that they're in love, and how did they like what are they connecting with, and what does he like that you feel like there's something there. And I remember I did this with one parent where I was talking because it was all of us like in a group, and I was talking to them, and I told the girl that we are talking to, because there's a young girl who thought she was in love with some guy that she met online, which happens, right? And so I told her, I was like, what do you want in your life, right? I asked her, I was like, what do you want in your life? Do you want like what's your idea of life? And she was really young, but she had like some sort of idea. And she told me, yeah, like I really want to like knit, and I want to get into like artsy stuff. And I was like, okay, great. And I said, when you said this guy loves you, like, do you think that he will love the things that you love, like the knitting and art? And she was like, yeah, of course he would. And I'm like, okay, great. Have you shared that with him? Yeah, absolutely. And I was just like, okay, well, with people that you love, do you want your family to know them? Do you want your family to like them? And she was like, well, of course I want my family to like them. I was like, has your family met him? Since you love him, wouldn't you want, ideally in your circumstance, your ideal life, would you want the person that you love to get along with your family and friends? And she was like, absolutely. I would want to marry them. I want to have kids. And I was like, great. So if you want to marry them and if you want to have kids, then you would introduce them to your parents, right? Because they're the ones who put a roof over your head. They're the ones who are giving you food and shelter and all of that. And she said, yeah, of course. And I was like, so have you introduced this guy that you met online to your parents? And she said, no. And I was like, why not? If he's someone that you love and he loves you and he cares about what you care about, and you eventually want to get married and you eventually want to have kids, I know you're way too young to be talking about this, but we're here, right? We're talking about it. Okay. And she was like, "Oh, I would feel uncomfortable with it." And I was like, "Well, what would make you feel uncomfortable? If someone was really a good person and you loved them and they loved you, shouldn't your parents get to know them?" Crickets. Okay. Okay. So when that happens, that's when you know that your kid may have felt something that wasn't great and they're concealing it. And this type of conversation will reveal it. That's like moving forward. It's like, okay, normal. You like someone normal. Oh, you want to maybe have a family with them in 20 years, 10 years, whatever. Normal, 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 normal. And then you go, okay, so if everything's supposed to be normal and everything's hunky dory, then why isn't this one piece not hunky dory? And then that helps kids sometimes understand what you're trying to say. And then you can get into, instead of going to the danger, I remember when I was younger. I remember when I was a teen. I remember a couple of years ago. I remember when, you see what I'm saying? So you're connecting with them before you correct with them. Okay, you correct them. All right. So she says, they got to the point where I love you. So that's when you have that discussion. She said, I noticed he talked a lot about how he was depressed. Oh God. Yeah, that might be what they're connecting with. So if a guy is talking about his depression and how he doesn't want to be here in the world anymore, and your child, and she said, yeah, which or express compassion, is either compassionate or understanding or is relating to that, then you also want to have a conversation about how she's feeling, and also understanding that everyone is in different aspects of their life and you don't have to take on what they're feeling, for instance, right? And that's when emotional regulation goes in. This is when I recommend looking at Dr. Nicole LaPera's resources and Marissa Peer's resources to help kids understand how to regulate their emotions and deal with other people who have different emotions to them without having it to be their own emotions, if that makes sense. So anyway, she said, I brought this to her attention, which is really good, and she lied to my face and told me he was a friend she went to school with. Okay, so that means that she doesn't feel comfortable talking to you. So I would say the first order of business is to open up to her about your own experiences and watch shows with her, like Into the Cloud by NCMEC, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That's a show, Into the Cloud. She's 11 years old. I know this is a couple years ago, but let's just say your kid is 11 years old or younger. I would watch that show with them and just have open, honest conversations. If they're older and they're teens, that show would be a little bit too childish for them. Not that it's not a great show, it's a phenomenal show, but like if your kid is like 15, they're not going to want to watch Into the Cloud. So you can watch something like Undercover Underage or MTV Catfish. Or if they're older, like they're about to go to college, I would say 17, 18 years old, 16 at the earliest, you can watch You from Netflix. That's very intense though. So that's why I say 17 to 18, but some kids can handle it at 16. That's on your discretion. I will look it up on Common Sense Media. But watching shows like that can be helpful because why would she lie, right? Especially when she lied to your face when you expressly said, hey, I found out you have a boyfriend from Roblox and tell me more. And she explicitly lied. Like, yeah, obviously we have to have deeper conversations. She said, I immediately attempted to delete her account, but was not able to. And she decided to take the tablet away. This is a response that feels that's like, it helps in the moment because you feel like, okay, I did something, I took away the devices. But what happens in those moments is we have to think about it from your child's perspective. When you do something like that, which is totally normal and makes sense, and why would you not take away the thing that is causing distress to you and eventually to your child, even though your child doesn't realize it yet because their frontal lobe isn't developed? It does. This is a last resort. So if you find out that your kid is dating somebody on Roblox, this is a last resort. Don't ever, 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 for the love of you, for the love of your kid, for the love of everything and good in the world, ever take away their Roblox account or their tablets or the devices or the internet at the first go around. That's like the absolute last thing that you do after you've tried everything and if you tried to reason with them and you did all the stuff and you did everything, right? And then you've given them warnings and you told them, hey, if this happens, da, 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 and then you might take it, and you gave them an understanding of what that may be when you take it and how you can get it back and all of that. This is last resort. When you do it as a first resort, your kid becomes sneakier, less trusting, and it's really a more dangerous situation for your kids online, which is why we have to talk about the Australia ban for the social media, but we'll talk about it later. But yeah, this is the last resort. I totally understand doing this. My heart goes out to parents. My heart goes out to you if you ever did that. Why the hell would you not do that? I'm totally there with you. It's just that it often, about 90% of time, does not have the reaction that you want. She says, recently she comes to me and tells me she made another friend on Roblox. Not surprised. I don't give her access to any internet while she's home. Yep, not surprised. She's using her friend's phone. Exactly what happens. So, like I said before, when you do this immediately, deleting their account, taking the tablet away, they make another friend on Roblox behind your back. They Even if they don't have internet access at home, they will figure out a way by using their friend's phone at school. I've seen people use their siblings' phone, siblings' accounts, their parents' accounts, connecting to like not the Wi-Fi in the house, but the data. I've seen kids use the neighbor's Wi-Fi. I've seen kids whose phones and tablets and all the devices have been taken away, and the predator bought them a new phone on a new plan, not connected to anything in the family, um, and gave it to them because they were meeting up after school or after school programs or whatever. This happens. Even bus, like when they're riding to and from school, like using someone else's phone. This happens all the time. This is not surprising, especially because taking away the devices was the first reaction. This is a very normal, very like this happens all the time reaction. Okay. This is causing me stress. Obviously, you'd be stressed out of your ever loving mind because I want her to be protected, but I can't control what she does. Would it be wrong to pull her out of school? Now we're like pulling out of everything. The problem isn't school, right? The problem isn't all of things. The problem is that she needs to understand that she's safe at home and she's safe with herself and she's safe with you. That's the biggest thing. You don't want your kids to ever develop any relationship, especially not a freaking romantic relationship online with someone you have no idea who the hell this person is and they're hiding it from you. That's the worst possible outcome. You never want that. So the best thing you can do to control the situation, because you really can't control, as you can see, it's like, what the hell do? I did this, it doesn't work. I did this, it doesn't work. I did that, it doesn't work. You can't control that. But what can you control? I like the what can you control mindset. Okay. There are two things that you can control: yourself and yourself in front of your kid. That is it. You can't control your child. You can't control everything, right? There's certain things that you can do, right? You can pause the internet, you can take off the internet, you can talk about certain things. There's a lot of things you can do, but at the end of the day, the only thing you really control is yourself. And so, can you look into how you're interacting with your kid and how your kid feels with you when you're having these conversations, that it can allow better conversations to happen? Because if if she's relating to somebody online, she's going to want her to relate to you. I know that we don't always think about this like that, but if kids are trying to hide something, that means that their relationship with you means a lot to them. And they don't want to destroy their relationship that they have with you. And they don't want you to be mad at them. They don't want you to shame them. They don't want you to blame them. And so they're going to do everything possible to keep the equilibrium, so to speak, in the relationship, and also be able to have like a little love life on the side and have fun or to feel love, right? That's normal. That's a human being thing. So it's so important here to go back and to apologize if you feel like there's something to apologize for. Even if you're not apologizing for like what exactly taking away the device, you can just say, I'm sorry that you feel like you have to hide things. I'm realizing that maybe taking away the device was a little bit harsh. What do you think? I'm really scared because for me, I don't know who this person is, and it makes me feel like anything can happen. And I really want to make sure you're safe. Am I over? What do you think? Do you think I'm overreacting? Obviously, you're not overreacting, but you're not saying we're play acting here, right? And then you can start that conversation. You can open up, and she could be like, "Yeah, I think you're overreacting. You're not, but whatever. You can shut up and let her talk." Um, and she can say like, this is how I was feeling, or maybe she doesn't say anything, just like, "Yeah, mom, you're overreacting," rolling her eyes and leaving. And then you can say, you know what? I understand. Thank you for being patient with me. I just don't understand this new internet age. And it's really confusing to me. Can you explain like what goes on? Is there something that you wish that I knew that we weren't able to talk about before? And then you can start talking about your own experiences of love and young love as a kid. Never tell a kid that they're not truly in love. It's irrelevant. It's not relevant. Doing that just makes your kids shut down. Basically, don't do anything that will make your kids try to shut down. And if you do something, because you're human and what the hell, you're going to make a mistake, you can always go back and be like, I apologize. I'm so sorry for saying that. I just felt like, I just remember me when I was, your age, and I felt like I was in love with someone. And now that I'm an adult, I realize I wasn't. Okay, but leave what they feel alone, because it's irrelevant whether or not they're in love or not. What's relevant is that your kid is dating somebody on Roblox. What's relevant is your kid is hiding who they're dating on Roblox. What is relevant is that even when you take away your kids' devices and trying to take them away from school or whatever, they're still doing what they're doing. Well, clearly there's something with the person that they're talking to that makes sense to them, that is giving them something. So maybe talk to your kids about that. And it's really, really challenging. And it's really, really absolutely positively necessary if you're trying to protect your kids online. You cannot go the route of taking everything immediately and then it's just the wound is still there. If it's not a boy on Roblox, it's a boy on Minecraft, a boy on TikTok, a boy on Snapchat, a boy in school, a boy in the school bus, a boy in school activities, cousins, best friends, neighbors, boy. Like it's somebody, right? So if you're not dealing with this problem online, they're going to have the similar problem somewhere else. And you don't know who these kids are. Now, obviously, feeling like a boy in her class is much easier to deal with than some random freaking stranger online because we have no idea who the hell he is. And so it is important that before you have those conversations, you use an external source to have the conversations with your kids. For instance, Into the Cloud by Nick Mick, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and you use resources like Undercover Underage, or if your kids are much, much, much older, you can watch You. I still would, I mean, You is like, hold on, let me look into You Common Sense Media. You is like, I feel like You is 18 plus, I swear. Like, You Netflix. So anytime you want to watch a show with your kids, I always recommend that you look into Common Sense Media, You Netflix show, and see what Common Sense Media says about it and what age. I don't know. I can't find it on Common Sense Media. Maybe because the show is called You. But anyways, either way, watch a show with your kids. Catfish TV is really good as well. And start having those conversations there. Hopefully, this was helpful for you in terms of how to deal with if your kids are dating on Roblox. Roblox dating is very normal. And I actually talked about this before. I'm going to share this screen over here. So Roblox released this a couple of years ago. Yeah, it's in 2023. And they basically were like introducing experiences for people 17 and older. This should tell you everything you need to know about any platform like this, right? If you're having a platform where there's experiences for people 17 and older, you know that the platform, one, is not made for kids, and two, is helping people stay connected as they grow older. Basically, they said like this: our goal has always been to build an immersive platform for communication and connection and civility as its foundation. So you see here, Roblox is a platform for all ages, no matter how old people are. They can connect with friends and discover engaging age appropriate experiences. Here's the thing. Look at that. All right. Natural evolution, we're allowing people to create content specifically for 17 and up because 38% of their users, this is in 2022, so I'm quite sure it's higher now, are 17 and older. So in these type of experiences, teens are going to connect. If you think about, let's just think about like offline life. How do people end up dating? Like who you're dating based off of who you went to school with, who you're friends with, who you're around all the time, who you go to college with, who you work around, the network that you're in. So if we think about your kids' online experiences are a part of their offline life, and their online life and their offline life is their real life, is their life. So obviously, if your kids are spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on Roblox and they're growing up with Roblox, now they're 17 plus and they're still playing Roblox, obviously your kid is going to find somebody most likely that they either become friends with, at the very least, bare bones minimum, become friends with. Secondly, become very close friends with, right? So they're telling them all of their business. And thirdly, they become romantically intertwined or interested in somebody that they're playing with. Obviously, they're spending all of this time in a game. They're spending all this time talking to somebody. This is a part of their world. So when you approach the conversations with your kids about this, you're approaching it from a standpoint of, oh, obviously they're going to connect with somebody that they are spending a lot of freaking time with. So don't ever go into the conversations telling your kids that they shouldn't have a feeling that they have. That's not going to take away the feeling. Okay, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to happen. So the best way to approach it is within my SAFE method. That's why I call it my SAFE method. Safe spaces, accountability, fun, and empathy. So the first order of business to protect your kids online from this is to go into connection, right? Connection before correction. The accountability aspect is you are staying accountable. If you said, you can tell me anything and I won't be mad, then you actually have to not be mad when your kids tell you something that they're doing online. Like you just can't not, you can't just be like, oh, I won't be mad, but then you actually are mad. This just doesn't work. And then fun is you having fun with your kids. So if your kids are like super into Roblox, you can play a Roblox game with them. You can ask them questions about the Roblox game that they're playing. Actually, let me share my resource library, because in the resource library here, I have a I have a game, a Roblox game that you can play with your kids, or you can just listen to your kids talk about Roblox. Like they really care about Roblox, you can listen to them talk about it. I'm going to send the link to this, the resource library. But yeah, you can listen to your kids actually talk about Roblox. So here in the gaming safety over here, the social media and gaming safety tab, I have this Roblox, Google and Roblox internet safety game. It's called Be Internet Awesome. And it basically teaches your kids how to stay safe online. You can use that as a fun portion, right? Inside of this guide, okay, let's share this tab instead. This is the Roblox safety guide. And by the way, I put it inside of the chat. If you have any questions, please let me know as we're live. And if you are here and you got this far into the replay. So here's what I was talking about here, the 4 pillars of safe method. So safe spaces, accountability, fun, and empathy. And so we talk about how to protect your kids from Roblox predators. In the fun tab, where's the fun tab? Accountability, and there's like fun and empathy. Where's the fun? Okay, yeah. So step 4 is cultivating joy. So basically, the reason why you're cultivating joy and the reason why fun isn't part of this is it helps your child internalize that they can come to you with their bad experiences or their experiences of liking somebody in Roblox. It's just really important to do that. Inside of the webinar, we did a lot more in the webinar, but inside of the webinar, we talked more about like if you can't play games with your kids on Roblox, then you can watch Roblox videos with them. You can ask them questions about like what they love about Roblox. You cultivate fun. Empathy is basically taking time to understand right here the world that your child is in, what they like, what they dislike, and making it completely normal. Who are they talking to? Why are they talking to the person? Having empathy, putting yourself in their shoes, right? And understanding basically how they are feeling. It's so important for your kids to feel like, oh, my parents liked somebody before too. Like I'm not alone in this. If your kids feel like they're alone, they're going to talk to the person that doesn't make them feel alone. You know who that person is? The person they're online dating in Roblox and not you. Okay. And if you delete Roblox, well, they're moving to Discord. You delete Discord, well, they're moving to another texting app. Well, you delete that. Oh, they're on their friend's phone because they saved the person's username and phone number in their notebook, or they memorized it, or whatever it is. So it's so important to reach it head on instead of trying to ignore it. You have to talk to your kids about this. And then here, oh, well, this is me talking about the Protect Kids Online membership and how to protect your kids from online predators. I actually did a masterclass on preventing explicit pictures and chats masterclass. And in this masterclass, when you join the membership, in this masterclass, we talked about how to talk to your kids about explicit interactions or explicit messages, especially in games like Roblox where people role play. And maybe that's a different type of live stream. Maybe we can do that. Let me know in the chat. Type 1 in the chat if you think we should do a live stream on just like Roblox role playing. This is the page that we're looking at now. That's the membership. Roblox, there's a 7-day free trial. So I highly recommend that you join in. Because we can go over how to protect your kids on Roblox, all the step-by-steps. I give you exactly how to give your kids safe spaces, exactly how to talk to your kids about like any challenging subjects, how to get your kids to open up to you, how to have those difficult conversations. We get into the Roblox role playing, gaming role playing. Role playing genuinely happens in all online games. It does not just Roblox, but Roblox is one of the top games where people role play there. And that's where a lot of like dating scenes happen, or people starting to date or acting out adult scenes. And so you do want to talk to your kids about that head on. So when you join the membership, there is a masterclass and a workbook on not only talking to your kids about this, talking to your kids about the red flags, understanding how to deal with this type of conversation so that your kids are not shutting down is actually effective. That is really important. And I can do a whole different live stream on that. But the Protect Kids Online membership is like where we go like super deep into this. Inside of your free resource library, if you're in the newsletter, then you already have access to this, and I put it also in the chat. If you're trying to get your kids away from Roblox, here's what you should do. Always go to these databases, the family gaming database and the safe games by age database. You can literally go on Google and search this up. If you search Taming Gaming or Common Sense Media Safe Games, it will show you basically how to find safe games for your family. So I'm going to share this tab. Let's just say, and this is what you do if you're trying to remove your kids off of any app, but specifically Roblox, right? So if you're trying to remove them from the app, you want to give your kids 2 alternative games to play so that your kids are not so stuck on the fact that you have just taken away the number one thing that they love. This will not prevent them from online dating. This will not prevent them from, still talking to the stranger, but it will help you have a different alternative so that your kids maybe can slowly be weaned off of Roblox. Maybe it depends on how much they love the game and the great alternatives. So basically, you can go here and find some games that you think that you love. So for this mother that we just talked about, who said that she found messages, she said her daughter was 11. I know this is a couple years ago, but let's just say we're talking to her now. She's in the live stream. So her daughter's 11. You go over here if you're trying to find a safer game for your kid. You would go over here, and then you would. Do I need to make this bigger? Okay, I think that's better. And then you would type in 11 years old. Like, this is the age range that you want. And then the gaming platform, she said, I think that her kid was on the tablet. I don't see a tablet here. I mean, I guess we can say Android. Let's just say it's an Android tablet. Okay. And she does not want her kid to be with anybody else, right? This is with others online. You don't want that button. You want your kids to talk to somebody else. And actually, let me put this link in the chat as well. You don't want your kids to talk to anybody else, right? So you would say single player. Selecting your favorite games, we're just going to skip that. Any themes you want to avoid. This is phenomenal. You want certain themes to avoid, right? So we don't want online strangers. We don't want violence. We don't want any substances. We don't want inappropriate scenes. We don't want also just gambling, bad language, maybe a little horror. You're saying that's fine. Adverts, you don't want them tracking, and that's it. Let's just say those are the things that you care about the most. So it gives you a list of games that are best games on Android. And it says we found 133 that matches the choices that you have. And so you can give your kids this list and say, hey, here are some games that I'm thinking you might enjoy. Let me know which one you think would be best. Or you can just look at all of them and then pick 2 or 3 at random and then have your kids play it and see what they think. And it shows you like, hey, this is out on Android, Mac, PC, Switch, iOS. You can just do all of that. Same thing with Common Sense Media. You can do the same exact thing. It's just, you just go 11, choose the platforms. Let's just say it's Windows here, right? And then you can say, I don't want any of the violence and language and adult scenes and substances, right? And then it doesn't really matter that I have my own account, but I'm not signing in now. But basically that will give you what you need as well. So this is the way that you can protect your kids online and talk to your kids about safe gaming. We talked about Into the Cloud. We talked about From NCMEC. We talked about Undercover Underage, MTV, You Show. That's for older kids. Again, please do not have your younger kids watch that. Watch it first. And then we talked about pulling your kids off of it in a way that's actually effective, talking to your kids about who they may be connected to online. And the number one thing I want you to remember is using your own story to help your kids understand the safety aspect online. Always use your own story as much as humanly possible. Use it so that your kids can connect with you and understand that their feelings that they're having are completely normal. It is very important that they feel that way. Otherwise, it's just not going to go as well as it possibly can go. If you have any questions, let me know below. I'm Cyber Farida. I'm an award-winning Forbes 30 and 30 internet safety expert. And my main mission here is to help you protect your kids online. And I cannot wait for our next late night chat. Until next time. Bye.